Hello and welcome to the Tantric Leadership Podcast. My name is Anja, I'm the host of that podcast, and I'm a facilitator and coach for female empowerment and embodiment, and I love to bring more love, awareness and healing into the world. And our guest today is my beloved friend Arja. We know each other for a few years because we spent pandemic together on Copenhagen. And she is my favorite tantra teacher for women. And I love for you to introduce yourself, to share about yourself and what brought you to that amazing path.
So first of all, honored to be here. I love that we go way back. We don't only... I feel we really share Tantra. If you ask what is Tantra for me, I really feel that both of us live Tantra. It's not this thing that it is. For me, it's very much, it's everyday life. It's how I show up in the world, how I lead my business, how I make love, how I eat, the choices that I make, what's going on inside of my mind, how I feel inside of my body. So for me, Tantra is very much a way of living life that is deeply connected both with spirituality and this deeper trust in something greater in life that is always there to support, and this deep connection with myself in my body, and then relate with the world and with others and with loved ones from this place. And I would say the biggest part for me, what it's really hard to say what is Tantra, because I just feel it's literally a way of living life. And it's living life as a temple. Everything is in this sacredness, in this honoring, in this aliveness, in this passion for life, and in a deeper truth, deeper authenticity. So away from all the conditioning of what society told me this is how I need to be and this is how I need to act, and actually what is true for me, and can I show up with a connection to my body, with that truth, with that deeper trust in something bigger in every moment.
Yeah, for me it feels very similar. For me, Tantra is a way of life. So through Tantra and meditation and Qigong, I really learned to be more present in myself, in my body, and every moment in life, and to respond from a more mature place, from a more integrated and healed place inside myself, and not anymore have the need to act out of hurt inner children parts or out of programming to situations. And what you just said is true for me as well, living with more pleasure, with more open senses, with more sensuality in every moment. So blessing my food, really bringing presence into my food, intentions to almost everything I do. And to bring that in the world in a soft and feminine, penetrative way.
I like that. Soft, feminine, and penetrative. Yay!
Yes. And this brings me already to one of the topics I would love to talk about with you, which is Tantric Leadership. What is Tantric Leadership for you?
I love this topic.
Me too.
It's what I'm currently training a lot of, especially women in Tantric leadership. And for me, I could even replace the word tantric with embodied, or even embodied tantric leadership, because for me it's leading from a place that is not from the head and just from analytic and logic, and it's a place where the heart and the body comes alive as well. So for me, tantric leadership is very much this leadership that comes from an integrative approach of both the masculine side of us and the feminine side of us, which is very much this play of polarity that in Tantra is practiced a lot. Even the Tantric scriptures, they were written in a dialogue from Shiva to Shakti, which eventually were one, but it's very much this awareness of different energies and polarity in life. So then when it comes to leadership, what we've seen a lot in the world is leadership that comes from the head, or leadership that comes very much from a masculine place. And what I've seen is the opposite starts happening. So then especially the women that want to feel more empowered and want to be leaders, which I'm all for, But what started happening is you should lead from your feminine. And then it's been all over Instagram. It's like, oh, you just feel good in yourself. You're just the vibe. And from that place, you're just in the right place of energetics. And from there, everything will fall into place. And that's not how it works.
No.
Like a balanced, healthy tantric leadership is the combination, and I would say even the inner union of both having the masculine structures as a leader, having the masculine structures and system in place that will put you in that leadership position from where I can have the overview. And because that structure is there, then the intuitive side and my feminine can relax and I can lead from my heart, because there's a structure that in that I have a free and a flow to move. So for me, tantric leadership is very much this integration of, yes, I lead from a place where I know this is what's going to bring transformation. This is what's going to bring results, or whatever area that you're leading in, but this will bring results. That's like the mind part that comes in. But then it's like the heart part and the body part that also feels the field and doesn't just lead from, oh, but this is what I prepared before, so this is what I'm sticking to. I would say that's a very like societal leadership that doesn't feel the field, that doesn't feel what is in front of them, and that doesn't work with the energetics. So for me, tantric leadership is working with the energetics, is feeling the field, being able to adopt and flow in that, and having the right systems and structures in place, so that there is a balance, just like what we would like in Tantra, is a balance inside of ourselves. And as a leader, you really show up embodied, so anchored in your body.
What does that mean for you? So when people listen and they hear all of this word embodied, but what does that really mean?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, because sometimes I forget that people don't always know. Like they might have heard of it, but what does the language mean?
How does it feel like?
Yeah.
Like these two parts, I think, are important.
I'll give an example. So let's say I'm leading a workshop, and a participant brings in something into the workshop, brings in a share about something that she didn't like about another participant. I had this happen in group shares without using any names, but she brings in, or they bring something in, and another participant is affected by that. Then in that moment, if I inside of myself feel a contraction, like, then I know if I feel that, there is something in the field. And then I can act from my leadership in a way that first and foremost relaxes my nervous system, because then when my nervous system relaxes, the entire field relaxes. And leading from that place is what I mean by leading from an embodied place. It's like I feel what happens inside of my body. I am connected to all the nervous systems in the room. So if something shifts inside of me, I know something, maybe on very subtle levels, will shift in the room as well. And then I correspond from that place. So that's one example. A second example can be, is what I see happening in the field. So let's say I'm on stage and I'm talking to a group of people, and I see that people are like, very, very, either very restless, and I'm like, oh my God, like, or they're losing attention. I can either just stand there and keep talking, or it's like, hey, I'm observing their body language. So how do I bring them more in their body? Because their body language is telling me something. So then I decide to change and shift based on what's happening in the moment, rather than just keep on going what is planned.
Like to the structure. Yes.
And that's very much, those are just a few examples. We can go much deeper. But those, I think, are a few practical examples on what it means to lead from an embodied place. So we can go deeper, but
So when I hear you explaining this, and when I feel how I lead, so it's really an attunement, I would say. So we're attuned into our own bodies and into the group, like into every single nervous system, but as well into this group consciousness or group emotional body, however you want to call it. and we respond to that, right? And I feel this is the main part which is missing in the world.
Yeah.
So 99% of the leaders in the actual world, they're neither attuned to their bodies nor attuned to the people they lead, nor to the earth. And this is why all these things which are actually going on in the world, the climate problem, all the wars, like lots of different things, they are all an effect of this kind of disconnection from hearts and from bodies. So how do we bring people back into their bodies? Like how are you doing this? How is your work? Does your work look like?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really standing for with Temple of Radiance, just together with Amanda Bickham, we are creating this community which is really for women to be the leaders and to really lead from this empowered place. So what we call, it's an initiation into feminine leadership. Mm-hmm. Where first and foremost, it's really important to be connected with your own body. So if you want to lead more from a place of embodiment or tantric leadership, or it doesn't matter the wording that we're giving, is first of all being really connected to your own body, which is all the practices that you meant before, the inner child work, the shadow work, being aware of your patterns, which is like the foundational groundwork, all the personal development and the individual growth area. I would say that's the first part. Second part is really being able to lead from the feminine. The feminine leads from trust. The feminine leads from intuition. The feminine leads from a channel actually that goes beyond her. So I would say you're tapped into, in Tantra, you often call it the horizontal line, which is all the personal development and the groundwork. And then there's the vertical line, which is really the spiritual plugged inness and being connected to your intuition, to this inner place of knowing. And it's like leading a group. And often for just a few seconds, I close my eyes. I'm like, what does this group need right now? It's like, what is going to bring them the most transformation, the best results? And it's taking that moment to feel, and then from that place make a shift. And of course, the number one thing what's needed for that is self-practice.
Yes.
Being connected with your body, really, having this self-attunement. And that needs to be there before even being able to stand in front of a group and trying to feel what the group feels if you can't even feel yourself.
That's not possible at all. Yeah. And you feel it, like for our people who lead groups who are not attuned, you feel it in the leadership and how they're able to hold the containers energetically.
Yeah.
That's my experience. So then what is your daily practice?
It varies. It varies depending on the day. What I love the most is a practice that I learned years ago. I think it's been one of my first practices that I learned, which is consecration. And you know this because you know how much of a fan I am. And consecration is very much this practice. It comes from the Latin consagrado, with sacredness. And it's this invocation of spirit or guidance or God or divine or consciousness. To me, it's really like consciousness or God consciousness, to invite that to move through me. So when I consecrate my lovemaking or an important decision in business or any important life decision or even something small where I feel, hey, I need a little extra guidance, I do this practice of consecration or consecrating my day in the morning so that I feel constantly guided in my day. So that's first of all my first practice and something I would recommend taking home. And then it depends really on how I feel. So every morning I can show up in a different way. Sometimes I read the sutras and I do practices and meditations with the sutras. Other days I just feel like I need to journal. And what I'm doing is journaling and tuning in. Other days I put on music and I like breathe and I sound and I move and I go into my body.
I love that too. I love moving. And, just tuning into my body and into the frequency and the intention of the day.
Yes.
That's very powerful. Yeah, this is another thing you can really take into your life, to do things with intention.
Yeah.
To really sit down in the morning for a few minutes, have your meditation, tune into your body, ask what you need, how you feel, and then put an intention for your day or for your work, for your relationship. You can do that with your partner, for example. This will really change your life. This is something that for me is very potent. Yeah.
And my favorite practice
please.
is charging my body.
Charging? How do you charge your body?
So I use specific mudras, I use specific mantras.
What is a mudra for people who don't know what
Thank you. Yes, thank
because you. Because we are often using this language. What is she talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I usually teach to a more advanced audience, so I'm very used to... I know. But thank you. I love it when I'm brought back into the basics.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure most of you who are here have seen this meditation mudra where the thumb and the first finger are connected. If you look at Buddha, any Buddha statue usually has their hand position in a certain way. So that mudra is like a lock. And it directs energy in the body differently. So anyone that has ever done yoga or meditation, I without a shadow of doubt, I think everyone knows the Buddha mudra. And this is a mudra that can be made with fingers, but you can also do it with parts of your body. You can make full body mudras, and it's a way to redirect energy.
Like this one is very famous in Germany, like because our chancellor used it for many years, so it's on many pictures. She was most of the time doing this.
Amazing.
So this is a very famous mudra.
That's the one I use a lot. Triangle, which can be either down representing the energy or up representing consciousness. And I charge different parts of my body, which are deeper tantric practices.
How do you charge this? Do you just bring awareness there and attention, or do you bring sexual energy there? How does it would that work?
It's a combination. It's often working with more kundalini energy, which can feel sexual and can feel orgasmic, but sometimes it just feels like intense, or it can feel really subtle. So I know for those of you that might be newer, it's like, what are they talking about now? But you can connect it to when you feel sexual arousal. So you can feel really horny. And when you feel horny, then the sexual energy is really there. It's like thick, right? Or you can feel like aroused.
It's tickling.
Yeah, it's like the same energy, but it's not as thick. It's there, but it's there more subtle. Or there can just be like a hint of flirtiness, which again is another like more subtle version of the sexual energy. And in the same way, you can feel different type of energies inside of your body that can feel more charged and like really there, or that almost bring me into a meditative state where it's like, wow, I really feel an expansion happening in my body. So charging can work with these different streams and these different energies. And I'm always wondering, how much can I share? Like how much languages?
No, that's great. So is that then, like for me, I charge a lot through my Qigong practice. So I'm very trained in Qigong for several years, and so I use that a lot to bring my energy up to different places, to change my mood, or the dance movements, as well as sexual energy to charge. So how does your practice look like? Is it like, are you sitting? Are you moving? Are you sounding?
A combination of all of those. Different practices. Some of them are really like sitting in stillness and meditation. If I work with much more, I would say, subtle layers of Kundalini. It's called more Chit Kundalini. It's very more in stillness and just energy moves up and down, but from the outside you won't be able to see anything. Other practices are like full-on breath, sound, movement, like the neighbors will be able to hear me, and the whole body is shaking and trembling, and it's very visible from the outside, and anything in between.
Okay.
And it can be like full body, or for example charging the breasts, or charging my yoni, or specific zones of my body that are very sensitive, that are different for everybody, both male and female bodies as well.
And do you have like a specific regular feminine practice, like working with your breasts, working with your yoni, or is this just mood of the day? Mood of the day. Okay.
I have specific oils
me too.
that I do anointments with, or do a specific breast massages with, and they're all next to my bed. And then it's like, the yoni oil today, breast oil today. Oh no, the rose oil, because actually I just want to do little anointments. So I would say the feminine practice for me is not a standard practice that repeats every day. That's what I did in the past, but I would call that more my masculine practice, where I had hours and hours of yoga and pranayama and bandhas and mudras and like very masculine, rigid practice that helped me so much to now be so my feminine, because I did so much of these structured masculine practices that now my body is like, oh, I have all those tools.
Yes.
Now I can just flow with whatever is alive, and now I can just drop in, because I can always rely back on my masculine yogic practices, meditation practices.
That's very potent. So there's another thing which comes up in my sessions and workshops a lot. Safety for women. So it's rarely that women feel safe in their bodies, in their environments, in sexuality, with partners, at work. So are there I don't know, maybe 2 practices, 2 tools which really can help people in their daily life to feel more safe?
Yeah. The first practice that for me comes to mind, because this is often a question that I get asked, like, oh, when should I go ahead or when should I not? And for me, super first, very body-based practice that I feel is both based in embodiment and in the spirituality we spoke about, is tune into your body. If there is the tiniest contraction, it means that something doesn't feel safe. If there's the tiniest contraction, anything that you're doing, in any conversation that you're having, in anything interaction that you're engaging in any event that's happening, then I would say pause. If you're in a space to name it, then really start by naming it. Start by bringing it in and be like,
often dissolves it already.
Yeah, it's like maybe you're with someone and there's something happening and there's a contraction, and by naming it, hey, I notice, I feel, and naming it and owning it, not like, hey, you're doing this and that and it makes me feel unsafe, but hey, I notice, I feel a bit closed off right now by something that you just said. And then it's already by you starting to name what is there and just naming the contraction, or even if naming feels too challenging, because that's already a super big step, then to just pause. Even pause without even saying anything, but just the contraction is here. Okay, I'm pausing, I'm closing my eyes, I might even put a hand on my heart.
Taking a breath.
What she said. And even that, but really listening to where does my body feel a contraction and an expansion, because most women are able to feel that something is off, and it's catching that very first moment. And then when you have the tools to bring yourself in and just name it without just literally pausing whatever is happening, you create more safety for yourself.
Yes.
Because you can never expect your environment to make it safe for you. You're responsible for your own safety.
Yes. And I think this is a very big acknowledgement, to acknowledge that we all are responsible for that safety, and that we, on the one hand, need to create safe spaces, but as well claim it or name it when we are not feeling safe, right?
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me, for example, for years, even sometimes there's a situation with super close people, and then my body goes into a contraction. It's hard for me to voice it in that moment. So sometimes I have to go out of the situation and relax my nervous system, and then later on I can voice that.
Yeah. And that, I would say, is such a big step to create safety, to pause. Yeah. You name it for yourself, that you start to be aware, hey, these situations actually make me feel unsafe. And then there's already more awareness, and then naming it, that would be the very first step.
Yeah.
So there starts to feel an empowerment of oh, I'm not just having to sit and wait around to be quiet and let whatever's happening happen, because that's the first response. I used to do that a lot. Just stay quiet, not saying anything. Yeah. Afraid if I bring myself in, I'm not going to be loved, I lose connection. So for me, I was a freezer. So, and that's usually what happens when feeling unsafe. I mean, there's many different responses, but I used to freeze. And sometimes it still happens. And now I just name it. Hey, I feel a bit frozen right now.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true. Like, it's not completely gone. Like, I have that sometimes. It's like so deep and maybe so young and so old. Then still sometimes it kicks in and the body goes into a response. And it's very strange because my body is an experience which is not my actual experience.
Yeah.
So I had that this morning, for example, and that was like,
oh wow,
like, okay, so there's still something happening, and I observe that this is happening, but then I need, what do I do, right? And I need to come back and regulate my system, or even ask for help. So in my case, I just asked for someone hugging me to regulate my nervous system, and then I could relax again.
Yeah, I think what you say is really important, Anja, because it's not about these contractions not happening anymore. No. It's not about oh my God, I don't feel safe when that's not happening anymore. These life will keep throwing in situations where that happens, but it's about knowing how to deal with it. Like, there are still moments where I go into a freeze. There's still moments where I really go into a contraction. I'm like, what do I do now? But now I have the tools to navigate through it instead of just, shutting off or disassociating or going into an explosion or not knowing how to handle myself. Yeah, and here I would like to bring in what we talked about at lunch. So we shared about, how, like, in former times, how were we approaching men, or how did we meet men, what was exciting about it, and maybe you want to share about it. Yeah. But we came then back to that point, to now that we're really in attunement with our bodies, and from this place we are meeting. And this is one thing around being in this field, is having incredible friendships and having deep conversations. So we had an amazing conversation over lunch where the conversation was about interactions with men. And I shared how I used to be very outwardly focused on men and where they were from, and that would excite me. We were talking about our travel times, and when someone was from a new country, it's like, oh, I've never been with someone from that country. So then that felt really exciting to me. And then I started to learn about astrology and the connection between Tantra and astrology, and I got really interested in astrological signs and discovering men from different astrological signs, and it was so exciting. And how different the lovemaking is. Yes, especially. It's like, oh my God, making love with a Virgo versus making love with a Pisces, like completely different. And I was in this whole exploration of, oh my God, how is it to make love with different astrological signs? And then Anja asked me the question, so how did that shift it? Like, you asked me, so what's there now? Yeah. How do you date now? So what do you focus on right now? And then I shared, well, now actually it's not about the outside anymore. I moved from being outwardly focused to connecting with myself within. And we really found, that for both of us, this is really important, that now it isn't about, where are they from and what's their astrological sign and what have they been doing, but how do I feel inside of myself in their presence, and how can I really connect with myself, and from that place connect with another. Like, how safe do I feel with this person? Like, how does my body react? How open or how closed is it? This is a very important, message and, tuner. Yeah. But still, I want to add something which is for me still interesting, and I'm figuring it out, which is to understand, with some people my body feels really safe, but I know they are not. And this then comes because they may behave like my dad or my parents, and my body reacts to their behavior, that it thinks, okay, this is love and this is safe, but I have now learned it's not. So there to be still kind of aware of, okay,
why am I reacting like this? And maybe is it an old pattern, or is this person really safe? So this is for me an interesting exploration.
Beautiful.
As well. Yeah. Because there's one person, my body feels like home. Like this person feels so safe, but he isn't safe and he isn't good for me, you know. So that is very, very interesting to understand more how we work, how our nervous system, our bodies work, how they react, and to find a good way for choosing partners, for choosing people who we let into our fields, into our energy, and into our heart, essentially.
Yeah. And into our yonis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which then, brings so much, not only in the physical body, but in the energetic and the emotional and the mental, in the spiritual body as well.
Yeah, I think I have not much time left. I would like to ask two more questions. So one is, both of us love to create sacred spaces, to really honor our feminine essence, to honor our feminine beauty and body, to honor our sisters and their beauty, and as well to create sacred lovemaking spaces with partners.
Yes.
I would love for you to share a bit about this. Like, how does that look for you? How do you create sacred space?
First and foremost, is the sacredness comes from my relationship with sexuality, which I had to decondition so much and remove so much of my shame and so much of my insecurities to even feel that sexuality could be sacred. And I still notice that a lot of, even women I work with, it's like kind of they know that sexuality is sacred, but then it doesn't, that isn't deeply embodied in the inner knowing, or like really coming from this place. So first and foremost is this deep reverence to my own body, and can I love my body more deeply? And for me, I've been through a whole journey of body image and body insecurities and loving my body as I am. So for me, that's the first and foremost part. It's like, can I view and live in my body like a temple? So that's where the sacredness already starts within myself. Because when I feel like that in myself, I transmit that to my partner.
And others feel that. They treat you in a different way. So this is what I can say.
Yeah. And then from that, it's already the sacredness is created from this reverence to my own body and the reverence to sexuality. And of course, the outer environment can reflect that. Like, I love, my bedroom looks like a temple. I have multiple altars. It smells like a temple. It looks like a temple. It feels like a temple. So when the outer environment already reflects that, then it's so much easier to drop into that as well. And I love, again, the practice of consecration. I love consecrating my lovemaking. I love setting an intention for my lovemaking. I love looking with the eyes of adoration to my beloved during lovemaking. I mean, there's so many practices that for me create so much sacredness in lovemaking. And I would say these are the first steps to really create that. And I feel this is the quality of the feminine. The feminine creates the environment to go deep. So if you desire more depth with your partner, this is what the feminine creates. The feminine invites her beloved, and lights all the candles and the incense and create the atmosphere so that then the partner can come in and already drops into a deeper, and it's not about the altars and how it looks, because that's just the outside, but that really, it's a practice to help feel different on the inside.
Yes, and to honor each other, like really with practices, and maybe even going on your knees to honor this man and this, all what you love about him. So this makes it very, very sacred and special.
And I love starting my lovemaking in front of the altar. It's like at the altar.
So you put this lovemaking on the altar, like to God in a way, right?
Yeah, and there's all these things I have on my altar to add to the lovemaking. All these different, liquids, elixirs that we can anoint each other with, that we can use to charge with. I have my Radiant Sutras. I love reading poetry before, during, after lovemaking. But I would say the biggest part is this inner attitude, this reverence of, wow, this is so beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, coming to my last question.
Yeah.
If you would have a magic stick and could create a tantra festival, how would that look like?
Oh my God. If I would have a magic stick and I would create a tantra festival, it's actually in my mind for somewhere in the future. In what way? How would it look like? In what way?
Every way.
Oh my gosh. Oh, everything is possible.
Everything is possible. That's it.
Everything is possible.
Alice in Wonderland. You can create whatever magic you want.
It would look and feel like a tree temple. There will be altars and remembering of the sacred and God and goddesses everywhere, so that like everything smells basically like my bedroom, but then
just on a bigger scale,
but then like much bigger. And the people holding it and guiding it are so deeply embodied that they emit the frequency that drops all the participants
like a high priest in a way.
High priest, high priestess, like really an embodied like team of people that feels very co-created. Like I would love to see it very co-created, where the ones that are facilitating the space already are so dropped in with one another, and they just invite their participants into that. And I would love to see a range of workshops that really goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper on both that vertical. Well, I would maybe start with the horizontal,
yes, of course,
and then the vertical, and where everything feels like a living, breathing embodiment of the teachings of Tantra. Not just the workshops, but everything. And there's prayer, and there's meditation, and there's blessings, and there's like energy activations where the whole group is like charging, and there's loads of yantras all around. I mean, I could let my imagination go much wilder, but this would be just, and it feels like a homecoming.
Yes, this is what I want to say as well. For me, it's like home, coming home into this place, into this qualities, and into the energy of the whole group.
Yeah, it feels like, oh my God, I arrived.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're gonna finish this.
We are, yeah.
If you want to know more about Arja and all she offers, you will find links in the description down there. And any last words or wisdom you want to share?
I always love hearing from you. So if you felt that something impacted you, then just shoot me a message on Instagram. I love hearing from you. And an invitation is to just take one thing that you felt inspired from this talk, pick one thing and start working with that.
That's amazing.
Embody that.
And same here. If something has really caught your attention, touched you, triggered you, whatever, send a message, reach out to us. We're here. We love to hear from you. And thank you for listening to the Tantric Leadership Podcast today.